This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Welcome to Worse Than You with Mo Fry-Pasek. I'm Mo, and you have been with me all season long as we have been talking to fringe headliners about their show, their work, their creative process, and not necessarily about their most famous or most successful art and work, but about the art that means the most to them and how they got there, and when it feels done, when you keep going, how you evolve, and why. So we're back in the pod world this week with a wonderful creator who is a New York City-based actor, writer, and comedian. He's performed on Broadway, headlined venues like Club Cumming, and gone viral on the internet. And now he's going on a national tour with his 2023 Edinburgh Fringe show, Palatable Gay Robot. Please welcome Stephen Brower.
Yay! Hi.
Hi.
That all sounds really impressive. It doesn't feel as nice as it sounds, but yeah.
That is one of the things I do talk about all the time on this podcast is like packaging, branding, like how we pitch things. And so like, doesn't it feel odd to hear your own bio when you're like, oh, well, that person sounds like something that I don't think I am, you know?
I mean, I wrote half of that. That's the joke about bios. It's
We're
like,
all writing it.
Yeah, and I'm like talking about myself in the third person. Mm-hmm. But it's also, I was just talking about this with my director of my Fringe show, or I should just say my show now, but about like sort of the mystere that you create around your own work. Like we found that so much of Edinburgh, because it was overseas, like when we came back, everyone was like, oh my God, you were the host of Edinburgh. Like you did it. And I'm like, if only you could have seen me there. You know, I don't know what you're imagining in your head, but I'm liking it because
oh, yes, please.
Boots on the ground, it was not that.
Boots on the ground, it is like a made-up world that's like, oh, okay, so we're all just eating halloumi wraps and crying all day and then
Totally.
going home. Yeah.
For me, it was those brats. Did you ever have those brats from that? I mean, I guess there are a couple cards.
Are you calling a brat a brat?
Oh, a brat?
That is incredible.
Maybe it's Charlie XCX's influence on me. I don't know.
Literally, Charlie XCX has changed the way we eat sausage.
Yeah.
They're called brat because it's bratwurst, and I only say this because I'm from Madison, where they hold the world's largest brat fest, and you eat a lot of brats. Yeah.
I got dumped in Madison once.
You did once, meaning I like the qualifier.
One time in Madison, I got dumped. Yeah, just one time. I feel like that's not that bad.
Were you dumped there like because you went to visit a partner, or were you dumped there because you happened to be visiting and then broke up?
No, I was on tour with a musical, and it was like we were long distance for a while, and he broke up with me via FaceTime. Isn't that sick?
Oh my God, forever changing that city to you.
I do love Madison, though. It's so beautiful.
I know, but isn't it weird that transitory space all of a sudden means something to you now?
Oh, like so much. I would go to Madison and be like, whoa.
Kyle?
Hello? Are there any brats here?
Yeah, are there any brats here? Well, to continue on, I would love for you to speak about what your show is, because it's not just a Fringe show anymore. You've really changed and grown over this time, and you are a comedian, and this is what you're working on right now. Too Long Didn't Read is what we call this section, by the way.
Too Long Didn't Read.
Yeah.
Period. It doesn't read well on the page anyway, so because it's a really sort of bizarre amalgamation of things. So I come from a theater background, but I also do comedy, and stand-up's like, I don't know why I'm going the craft direction before I'm even telling you what the show is, but every single direction at the same time.
Oh, say that.
The umbrella of the show. Say that. I'm addicted to saying that, by the way. Say that.
Brat?
Say that. Okay, so the show is about a gay robot built to entertain straight people. So you're coming into a tech demonstration, sort of like an Apple launch of a product, And this company, HumaVibe, is launching their first ever gay robot because it's sort of an imagined present where like humanoids live among us. And this niche company decided to make ones that adorn your life in more entertaining ways. So like you're like living in a world where like robots do sort of like menial tasks for you or blue collar work or just maybe live among you for different reasons. And they're trying to go the entertainment route and make like a host of a television show and someone you could hire for a party and someone you could go to brunch with and all of these sort of like gay stereotypes. And this particular robot was built for stand-up comedy. So it's like I'm using stand-up like a traditional stand-up set like through this character lens, and then obviously he breaks down through the whole thing and is not palatable, and my own story comes out, and there's this whole meta narrative and a big song and dance number and characters. It's like a whole stew of things.
And you've written your own original songs for it, yeah?
Yeah, just one. It's just one song.
So multi thing, a lot of things going on.
Henny, it's every time I open my Q Lab, I'm like, I could have just done an hour of stand up.
Can we
What was I thinking?
Okay, listeners, you've heard me
I'm a
reference
master. At this point, I'm like, hire me to do your Q Lab, babe, because
I'm God. I'm Steve Jobs. He died because he had to come back into my little head while I was meditating. and it's like, listeners, QLab is what runs all tech. And if you're unaware that when somebody has something flash on the PowerPoint, a sound cue that ends, the transition from the lighting
projector.
Literally
any technical element you can think of has to be organized and timed and mixed and
programmed.
Programmed. And part of the show is that I do all of the cues. I have this little device put on my desk right now.
Wow.
And I wear it on my... Yeah, it's like a PowerPoint presentation. So I actually click through the cues myself. So like the sound cues, there's this other character that like introduces me and talks to me throughout. And it's all a voiceover part. And I click through as if I'm like having a conversation with another actor.
I would love to have this conversation with you because I have a Korg, a keypad, almost like a, when DJs have like a launch pad where they click a button and something reverberates or continues.
Sure.
So
Sure.
Yes, I have a mini handheld Korg that I run all the cues of the other character in my play as well. And it's pre-recorded audio and I act off of it.
Look at you.
So you have a kindred spirit here.
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. Oh my God. Wow, we're really doing the same thing.
I was so excited when I saw like and read all this stuff and I didn't get to see your show yet. I'm just so excited because I feel like, especially down to the QLab stuff, I can't wait to talk to you about all of the layers that you have to get through before you can even begin to act.
I know. It's like actually the last thing on my mind. It'll be like the day of and I'm like, oh, right. I gotta go. I gotta do, which is also like, I'm so glad I have my director, Zach Prince. Like he's so in tune and smart and kind of is doing way more than a director would. Like there are versions of the show where like he's run QLab and had to like figure that out.
My director plays the other role, the voices of all of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all just, and that's why I love The Fringe because it's really just like, we're not doing this for money or for clout. We're just making theater and making things, and it gets you back in touch with like, because I don't know, coming from the Broadway world, it's like we take our breaks at an hour 20 or at 50 minutes, and it's so timed out, and it's so like all the roles are so very firm lines around them, and there's a lot of sort of like tiptoeing around each other's creative, I don't know, instincts or creative like. There are heads of each department and you don't cross those lines really. And with a show like Palatable Gay Robot, and I'm sure like yours, it's like you just have to get it done. And like we don't have time for those feelings. Like we just have to do the thing. Like who cares if I step on your toes? Like we have to get this done. And that goes with like producing it and everything.
everything. Sudi and I, my director, we call it the energy that we take on, the persona we take on is called Big Cookie. And
Big Cookie?
It's like, do not fuck with Big Cookie. Because it's like,
okay.
Like when I'm telling you I need a 3-second fade on all the transitional lights, and then you have a 5-second fade here, I'm not going to baby you through. I don't have time to say, hey,
I don't have time.
Remember how I asked about? You say, hey, 3 seconds, let's go. And like, you do step into an authority and a power that you realize, especially as queer people, as any sort of marginalized folk would be told, right, that it's too much, taking up too much space, or bossy. Like, you take it up and you learn quick that you just have to demand what you need. There's no time.
Yeah. And we did this like voiceover character in Edinburgh, and then when we came back to the States and started to get to do it in these little one-off, chances, we would bring in like a sort of celebrity special guest, and we've had cool people, but it's funny because again, like we have so little time that I'm talking to like Kathy and Jimmy and being like, no, we're not doing that. Just say the words.
How is that?
And then I'm like, whoa,
you?
Steven. Like,
no, but that's
it's
incredible.
Been interesting. It's been empowering, and it's also been, like you said, like the acting is so like, when do I even have time to think about that? Because I'm just thinking about getting the show on its feet. Mm-hmm. And it's always like a little bit of a miracle that it happens at all. And it's been amazing to work with these actresses, and like, it reminds me that I am acting and enjoy performing and enjoy playing off of someone, because it's so scripted and it's so queued up that like the little moments where, they might skip a page by accident, or they might not read a word. Oh yeah. Kathy.
Love.
God bless you, Kathy.
Bless.
I mean, she's amazing. But we printed her script in like a font that made it twice as long. So she was turning the page like every 4 lines, and she would just skip a page by accident, and it was like, okay, let's keep
you
going.
On your toes. Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
Do you come from improv at all? Did you like improv around that, or how do you handle that?
Okay, so I did improv when I was like truly a kid, like 8 to 12.
Okay,
which,
it's
honestly,
getting involved in activities.
It's giving this kid has ADHD. What do we do with him?
Party rock. Ditto.
Party rock. Brat girl autumn. Maybe it's brat. Maybe it's brat autumn. Oh, because it's like okay.
Okay, there's
something
there.
There's something in. There's a chill in the air. Kathy and Jimmy. Have I name dropped her enough? I don't know.
I can I will say though, because there's so many people like myself who know people dearly but not by name. If you don't know the incredible comedian and actor Kathy Najimy, you have seen Hocus Pocus, and you do know Kathy.
I thought you were about to say that you haven't.
Oh,
and
no,
I was
God,
like,
no.
Which I'm the worst. I do live under a rock, and I feel like you could tell me Steve Carell, and I'd be like, is he the one from
Zach Galifianakis in Between Two Ferns?
Bless you.
He used to in Between Two Ferns, he used to intro people with the most niche stupid, so it would be like Ben Stiller, actor, duplex, and
I love that.
I love it. But sometimes I do that with actors where I'm like, oh, they're from that like TNT commercial from 2003. It's like, no, that's a famous actor who did Broadway. Like, what?
Right? Actually, theater people get that all the time, because they'll be like a Broadway legend and had like one line and like one show, and you're like,
Harry Potter.
My God, I saw the one. Right? And you're like, oh. But it makes sense. Exposure, I guess.
Fair,
what people
fair.
see.
ABC Wednesday. Tim Allen and Kat Dennings star in the new family comedy Shifting Gears.
Dad, I'm broke and I need a place to stay until I figure out what the rest of my life looks like.
So, a couple of days.
When his daughter moves back in.
The last time you walked out that door, you looked back at me and gave me a double bird.
I was 18. The double bird was how I ended all our conversations.
The wheels come off.
Can we try to talk to each other like rational adults?
Have you watched the news lately? That's not a thing anymore.
Series premiere Wednesday, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs, like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you, or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Okay, we're taking it back to ADD is such a beautiful disease.
It is a disease. It's a parasite.
I love being with my
rotting
people.
my brain. Me too.
So okay, wait. I know where we were. You were taking it back to how it feels, right? In that sort of improv space when you took improv as a child, when you have to adapt when stuff goes wrong in a very tech-heavy show.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing what your body will do. Like, I guess from doing it from like the producerial, okay, pat myself on the back, like point of view, like, and building the Q Lab and such, that I know how the show functions, or at least theoretically I do. And it's amazing that, like, without really thinking about it, I will be able to, because I've fired cues early before. Obviously, I've like not hit the button well or hit the wrong button. Like, I've had hecklers in a show like this, where like to have someone heckle is like really a nightmare, because I'm playing a robot, so I can't like, I'm like, how do I, but
there's no space,
it's always
like,
exciting
within your tech. Yeah,
there really isn't. No, it's so tight that like there's so little room for farting around. But when it does happen, it just is so exciting, because it like reminds me how much people love when you go up on stuff and when you break and laugh. And I've made it to where it really is like a comment on like the state of the industry and like representation in the industry. So if I remember, like, I did a preview for some friends early on, and it was like a staged thing. It was like we did it full out before Edinburgh, and I called line a couple times, and afterwards I had a little Q&A, and people were like, that was part of it, right? And I was like, no. And they were like, I actually love that. And then they're hearing my director like shout the line, and I was like, oh, interesting. It kind of is foolproof in that way, where like if it falls apart, all the better.
audiences are so generous when you make anything meta.
I know, you can get away with so much. Call it meta, and they're like, totally.
Oh my gosh,
smart.
that literally it's so funny, because my ego, that's happened to me a couple times, where Sudi's quote unquote character is like I'm talking to but isn't there, and I'll call off stage. And if we
are doing the same kind of thing. It's crazy.
I know, I'm so excited to see yours. But it truly is like, if I had a tech issue, which like the projector would fail mid-show, because, as Sudi says, Edinburgh's internet is run out of the leaky cauldron. It's like so bad.
Yeah.
But I would yell to Jean, the character. I'd be like, hey, girl, what's going on with this shit? And then people would be like, oh my God, and when your tech
yeah, that's
fell?
the best part.
Like, great. Like, of course.
Yeah, no, and I love that shit. I mean, I don't know if someone told this to me, but it's like meta means low budget.
Obsessed. So true.
I'm like, yeah, if I had the budget, it wouldn't be meta. If I had the budget, I'd have built out the world.
My joke when I would get done writing, I would end every script and go, and it's just Inception. It was all a dream.
Exactly.
Just like a big fail safe where everyone's like, oh, okay, so anything that didn't get justified or make logical sense, oh, it's dream. Okay, no worries.
Let me ask you this: like, when you work with this voice, I have found like one of the most difficult parts of the writing of the show is really having that character have like an emotional conclusion, because they're not in the space. Like, and I've tried every possible version. I've had it where it's just like it trails off and we don't care about her anymore. I've had it where like it's a full motherly sort of like moment, and I've had her when she's live like come over and give me a hug, and we've just like never really settled on something that feels like, because it's a solo show still, but there is this other voice that you're like living with. So have you had that experience at all?
I love that. Yes, we've had a lot of these conversations, and I think I'm excited for you to be on this podcast specifically because I hope that you feel appreciated, because your concern for that, in my opinion, is a deep respect for your audience. Because a lot of people use devices and will just get to their point, right? And say, great, we used it. I needed another voice. Do it. And you're saying, no, I told you I'm going to tell a fully created story. I'm not going to use a gimmick. And everything I use is going to mean something. And I think people might not see that detail, but they're going to feel that care and feel that when you close the loop.
Oh, it's so gratifying. And I feel like that's what the difference between like a good and great show always. It's like you can kind of hold anyone's attention for the first 20 minutes of the show. Like you're there. But if you can like land the last 20 minutes, ooh, I love it. And it doesn't even have to make like perfect logical sense, but it just has to feel like an emotional loop closes. And I saw some amazing stuff in Edinburgh, and I saw some really bad stuff and the difference was that.
Is the end also is how you close, because there are so many incredible starts. There's so many good ideas. But so to your point, like, so closing that loop, what we have had a lot of discussions of like the fact that I'm even speaking to my therapist. It's like, is this real? Is she imagining it?
Right. What is she a real character with a real life outside of this, or is she like just a device that I'm using in the show?
Yes. Or like, is it a little bit like A Beautiful Mind, where it's like she's just in her head and this is how it sounds? Like, there's so many discussions we've had, because we say, well, what honors it the most? Also, if the tech goes wrong, what gives me the most justifiable explanation?
Right, there's that.
Like, which is like a couple of times when I was testing the trigger pad beforehand, I forgot to reset my own second tech computer, which is backstage, because I have two QLabs, one for the lighting and the projections.
We're doing
and one
the same
for...
thing. It's crazy. I need the link to the tech pad yesterday.
Oh, okay, I'm sending it your way. Yeah, absolutely. My friend Peter is
using
incredible...
a PowerPoint presentation clicker. This is not high
You're
tech.
gonna love the Korg. You're gonna love the
let me
Peter
ask you
Mills
this.
Wise.
This is just between you and me. No one listened to this.
Can't wait.
Can you go back? Can if you fire a Q, can you? You're kidding. You can?
Oh
my God. I'm going to cry.
Alrighty, I'm going to tell you this. So Peter Mills Wise is an incredible artist and theater maker in New York. And I did a show with him years ago. Peter, we had a New York run in June. And it was not going to work. But Peter fully programmed the Korg himself, did a full QLab for it, delivered it the day of, and he not only added a forward button for all my cues, a backward button for all my cues, but also if I start a cue that's wrong, he created an immediate panic exit button.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I could press that. I know, isn't this crazy?
God.
You're like, this sounds so nice.
Suddenly I feel like you're the one person on earth who understands me.
I know. I'm hoping we're talking so specifically that other people listening can be like, yeah, that's global.
I mean, it's your podcast, your audience. For me, I've gotten everything I could possibly need out of this conversation.
I feel so happy to dish with you about this.
Heaven.
We are among a unique few that are trying to shove 8 million talents into one show.
Well, it's also just like, it is that thing that people say about, and it's something I talk about in the show, that like having confines is a chance to get creative. You know, like if you don't have the money for a live person to fly with you to Scotland and be the voice.
That's why we did it.
Yeah. Then how do you work around that? And then what does that mean? And can that make artistic sense? And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And it's been such a journey with our show and now we're taking it on the road for the first time, that like, how do you tour a show like that? What things are absolutely necessary and what things should we get creative about, you know?
Do you have a sort of like guiding light where it's like, I will not do it if creatively it doesn't feel authentic? Is there a certain thing that dictates your choices when it comes to that?
No, I mean, at this point, we've done it in a couple of different styles of venue. And I do think it's funny, like it needs to be a theatrical venue, but it needs to be billed as a comedy. So it needs to kind of like feel like you are coming to a comedy show to have a good time. And then you get hit with a gut punch. I don't know. It's interesting. Like I've done it in a cabaret space. I've done it in like a massive black box. I've done it in like truly a comedy setup. I've also done like a 10-minute version at Club Cumming, which was awful and horrible, and I'll never do again. I
don't know how old you are, but I consider that Eastern Bloc. I'm like, no matter how wonderful and light it is still a dark place.
dark and seedy. Yeah, I don't think I ever went there before, but
you're too young. That's fine.
You live in LA, right? You're not in New York.
Yeah, I live in LA. I was a New York baby though.
Oh, cool. When did you move?
Yeah, for I think 7 years. I moved in 2021.
Oh, okay. Post pandemic. or kind of
post,
mid.
yeah, post. But wait, I love this because I think you and I are like, you don't even know how kindred, because I keep talking about like expectations and sort of packaging it in the right way. Because if you're in a space, sure, I think the bar in theatrical spaces for a joke is lower because people are there just to appreciate, but they love a good laugh. Whereas in comedy, the expectations are higher in a comedy space, but the comfort with gut punches is lower. And so you need to find the space where people are walking in with the almost appropriate or neutral amount of expectation that you can be received, or you need to find the spaces where you can push through the other stuff. I think it's a nuance that really matters when you're cultivating a show.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see what we can get away with. Also, it's nice because I am, speaking through a character, and as this robot is learning, there's like a certain innocence to him where like I can say things that I would never get away with in stand-up comedy because you're not attaching that to a person. Like you're not attaching that to like a lived-in body. So I can say, like, I can make jokes about like terrible things that are happening in the world. And it's funny because it's like, oh yeah, I guess a robot looking at this like logistically wouldn't know that emotionally is bad.
Or people can hear it because you can't hear certain things coming from your associations with, that's how you present.
Exactly. Maybe it's more about that. Like it frees them up to laugh at it. And, I'm sure you felt this too, but like the setup, the start of the show has been such, and that's really where the venue, certain things you just have to release. Like I remember in that big black box theater, like we had this guy who, put us in this huge space that was amazing. We were so grateful to have the opportunity. It was at La Mama, which is like an iconic downtown theater, but he came out and gave no less than like a 6-minute speech, and I mean he got them revved up and then he cooled them right down, and then he got them revved up and he cooled them right, and it was like over and over and over again. It was finally like, dude, let me start. You were killing it.
Get out of here, bro.
Get out. Yeah, it's just, but things like that, they really change the vibe. Or like I had one show that the special guest was late. We had to start half an hour late. Like that's a whole different vibe for the show. Like you're not in control of that.
And so I think because your show sounds like you've chosen your points for emotional hits very specifically, Tessa Hirsch saw the show and very beautifully told Sudi and I that it was well titrated, meaning you deliver the right amount of each emotion at the right time so that it can be most effectively received. And it's such a delicate ecosystem that like Sudi and I now have an opening bit because of exactly what you're saying, where her character is the theater tech of the space. And she's like, welcome, I am the tech life partner of this theater. Like, and
nice.
She does a bit like those people where she's like, if there's a fire, stay put. I will carry you firewoman style individually on my back. And like, but we had to do that. We had to write that because my first monologue, which is ridiculous, it is stupid, it is dramatic. People didn't know whether or not to laugh.
That you can laugh at it. Yeah, totally.
They didn't know if the character was just crazy and we should be sad for her or I was being goofy. But when Sudi opened as a psycho goofy theater tech, they knew, okay, we can start the ball laughing. And then it changed everything. Yeah,
it's so important. And that's where like the budget really, or just the opportunity, like, we're about to hit the road and we're taking the theaters that made the most sense and had the best deals. And we're not professional. I mean, we are professionals, but like, I don't come from this comedy world where like touring a show like this was very natural. We really like pulled ourselves up from the bootstraps to like make this happen. So I'm interested to see like what happens in these cities, because I feel like also we've been in New York where the crowds are very attuned to the kind of like drama comedy. It's okay to laugh at these things. It's not at this. Like, I don't know. It's going to be really, context is everything.
It's everything. New York audiences are more flexible. They can go quicker from an emotion. And that's just because there's more accessible art for them to see more often.
Totally.
But how did you get here? How did you say like, ooh, why don't I write a song? And ooh, why don't I like, do my stand up here? Like, where did that organically come from?
Well, the impetus of the show was that I was like fired from a musical in a
Really?
way. Yeah. I got
That's
fired
fun.
from something. Yeah. It wasn't at the time. But
Of course not, but it's rock and roll now.
totally. Rock and roll. Party, what did you say? Party rock.
Pretty rock. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so party rock. Yeah, I got fired and I was like, I have to do something that I can control. Like I have to be in my power about this and like I get in touch with what I like artistically and stop trying to be what I think others want. And that's what kind of started this. And I like knew what the Fringe was. And I was like, sure, that's a deadline. Had no idea for the show. And then I knew I wanted to play a gay robot. But that actually was like an
that
idea.
sentence already is great.
I just thought the idea of like a robot having a sexuality at all was so funny. And then like, I was like, in what world would this exist? And it was so many conversations with Zach before. I mean, the first draft of the show is so bad. It's so embarrassing. Like, I can't even read it without wanting to die.
But don't you love that version of yourself who at least wrote it?
I know. Well, and then what this was all leading to me saying, like, it was really instinctual to come up with these moments in the show that like felt sort of like little set pieces, you know? Like the song, and then I have like a whole character routine, and then I do this big section towards the end where it's like I go back to the top of the set, but as opposed to my own thoughts.
Oh,
and
I love that.
Hey, we love that shit. As opposed to like using my sentience that I've learned, I've like offloaded it to the algorithm, like social media memes. So I have all of these sound cues from like The Real Housewives and like RuPaul and all of the like gay references of pop culture that like replace my own thoughts.
Which is also what a beautiful statement in itself of like.
That's what we're doing.
You know?
That's what we're doing
Well,
online.
It's in the best way and the worst way, because then we associate too much. Either we feel affirmed by those thoughts or we feel we should be those thoughts. And it's so complicated.
Yeah. And there's this like keeping up with the Joneses that moves so quickly.
Yeah.
That we found a way to eventually justify that, but it was just at the beginning an idea that was like, well, wouldn't this robot like be able to touch on all of these pop culture things that are happening in the moment? You know, like it was all just imagining in what world does a gay robot exist and why.
And your character kind of embodies a bunch of stereotypes of palatable gay identity. And my producer and I were talking, she made a really good point of like, sure, it's like the stereotypes that we're all put in, or not we're all, but like, you know, queer people are put into, but you're also performing it for those people who are embodying it, maybe as a means of protection or maybe just because they are.
I'm so excited about this.
Yes.
Wait, you haven't even finished your question, but that I'm so excited.
But I think like sometimes like I'll portray a character type or a person, right? And I'm like, I'm either being pretty, not mean, right? But I'm like skewering things and when you hold the mirror up to the reality of what something is. But at the same time, I'm going, oh, I hope a person that I love who sees this, who maybe embodies this, doesn't think that I think this of them.
Right.
I think this of a greater purpose. And there's a lot of fear in like the way you'll be received if the people you want to help by shining a light on are the very people who would judge you because they've internalized the stereotype. Like there's so many complicated fears when it comes to just like saying
and you don't want to be preachy about it. Like you don't want to be like, here's my opinion.
No. Or like, I'm not that.
Yeah, because
like,
obviously that's why it's a fear. Like that's why there's judgment there, because you are thinking it yourself. But it's been so interesting because there are two moments that come to mind. So in the show, this robot is built to entertain heterosexual females ages 28 to 45.
Oh my God.
And the whole idea is sort of the relationship between like straight white women and their like gay guy pets, you know, that are like, I need to have a gay in my circle. And like, yes, queen, yes, get
the
it.
Tokenism.
Yeah. And it's interesting because my online presence with like Instagram and TikTok, like that is a huge inspiration behind this, is that like 90% of my audience is that.
Oh, this excites me.
Are women who, I don't know if they're straight, but they're like, you know, women in this generation who I don't know if they're tokenizing me, but there's something about my sense of humor that they really are attracted to.
Totally.
And
I think that's different than the tokenizing.
yeah, I
completely.
think so. But it's interesting because those women, my TikTok following, my Instagram following, in so many ways, both like just my own confidence, but also financially in a lot of ways, or ticket sales, like that is what allows me to do this show, where I am commenting on that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this one show at Edinburgh where these two girls, God bless them, who are friends of mine now, but they came to the show and it was like actively like a lot of like yes queen in the crowd. And I was like,
that was the support. That was the support.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, you don't get it. Like, you don't get that that's how funny and like sort of like I'm not sure that you need to. Like, I want it to be entertaining to you also. Like,
Yeah.
it's not about like breaking down those things. It's again, like, I don't, like you said, like, I don't want people to think that I am passing judgment on them for living the lives that they do. I wouldn't even say, I mean, tokenism is obviously bad, but I wouldn't say that like my relationship with those girls in particular felt like that. It's just
No.
interesting. And then another is like one of the characters that I play, I zip through all of these different gay stereotypes, and one of them is the frenemy. And it literally is me just like kind of draping my jacket over my shoulder and like looking directly out into the crowd and being like, Jessica, oh, hi. And like looking her up and down for a second. And that's the whole bit.
Oh, my tummy just dropped. My tummy just dropped. You just brought me to the 10th grade.
But that's been interesting because I remember this one like gay guy and his girlfriend came up to me after the show and she kept hitting him being like, that one was you. That one was you.
Oh, that's
and in
rough.
my head, I was just like, I wonder what this guy is feeling right now. Because like, what an awful sort of way to be labeled. I don't know. Like, as the frenemy, and I think like sarcasm within the gay male community is such a nuanced thing, and like being quote unquote bitchy, and there's a lot of judgment around that, and I don't know, it's a very complicated, it's something I'm really interested in, is like why gay guys are classified as bitchy, and what about that's true, and what about that is a defense mechanism.
1000%. And the hard part is it is a nuance because two people might be saying the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And you go, hey, your vibe sucks. Like,
right.
Like to one of them.
I know. And then you're like, but then the other, you're like, okay, I love.
And I think it is because, right, we talk about process and origin. It's like, it's probably because one of them, the origin is to make you feel better, is to say the thing that's making fun of us all, and or ridiculous
I love being bullied.
To lighten the air.
I love when someone makes fun of me. Ooh.
When someone's good at, like Sudie and I will give each other like it's
banter.
Banter vibes.
Proper banter babes. Factor 50.
It's proper gays with proper banter.
Oh, pull me for a chat, love.
We're nailing. We're cast all of a sudden.
Let's go. I would give up my whole life to just be on Love Island.
I would be 6 feet taller than every single individual, male or female, on that.
Are you tall? Are you a tall girl?
I'm like 5'11", 5'10". Yeah.
Are you really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Do you know the Giants? Thank you so much. How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot. Well, 5'11", 6 foot on a good day.
So we're gonna crush everyone there. Like, do you know the tallest girl there is 5'7" on the USA most recent one on Love Island?
Whoa! I didn't watch USA. I'm a UK.
That's
I mean,
okay.
I love
the first year it was good.
That's what people say. Because the UK one, I mean, the accents are half the reason I watch.
Do you remember Paige from season 6?
Oh, do I remember Paige?
Fen.
Paigey baby.
Paige is Scottish. Talk about Edinburgh. And I sometimes would listen to her and I would know she was speaking English. So I thought I was having a stroke because it would so not be English. I was like, my brain is scrambling the words.
Yeah, the way I have to have subtitles on, captions on.
Have to. Okay, incredible. And this is kind of art in process and how you just, just get excited. Okay, so no, I really mean that though, because even with what I'm doing, like at times I'm, making fun of like hinge guys, and like there's a scene where I am in group therapy and I just absolutely devour everybody and I label what everyone's issue is. It's like, well, you don't think people can see your pain, so you've co-opted a marginalized identity. You hate women, and like she fucking sucks in this moment. she's not wrong.
Right.
And so I think in comedy, right, like the reason that you have your famous stand-ups that like a Joan Rivers type, right, that can make fun of gay guys or whatever is because you can feel that the origin is from a space of upliftment or to
respect.
say the thing or to respect. There's a baseline respect. That's why you can absolutely tear someone a new asshole and it's like, that was so funny. But even if you're not doing it to bring someone down, if you're performing an identity because you don't know who you are yet, you're not actually hearing the impact of what you're saying or the harm it could cause.
I have a question because I was about to say, and then I realized this is probably so huge in your show or what you and Sudi have probably talked about, but because I think the difference for me when I'm seeing a show, I don't dislike being called out. There's like no safer space than to be like in a dark, cold theater to like have to sit back and like think about, oh God, is that what I'm doing? To be like the hinge guy or whatever. But the thing that I don't like is when I feel like I'm watching someone live their therapy out loud, like their catharsis. Like, I'm like, this isn't therapy, this is theater. And I am very passionate about like, you need to be actively fighting against leaning into the emotional masturbatory landscape. You need to be like fighting for an objective. And I'm wondering like with a show that involves therapy so much, if that's something, I don't know, like, does it land when you are doing the group therapy stuff, or is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah, it's something I think about a lot is because I also, similar to you, it's like funny, and it deals with, sexual assault, with pushing people away, with
hilarious
trauma dumping. And baby, you better know I'll make them laugh.
Okay. 5'11" and make them laugh.
Make that funny, yeah. Bang bang.
We're hanging out in LA, by the way.
I can't wait. I really can't. But what I'll say is that I speak very specifically is that I've done comedy and performed for a lot of years now. I am so hyper aware of how activated an audience member can become that I was not going to do this show unless I could take care of them, unless I could safely get them from an activated place to a happy one, to a whole one. Sudi and I very much take that very seriously. So what we say is we spend as little time possible in the difficult things, and we can immediately reward our audience with a laugh, with relief.
Oh, good.
And I think that's really important to be hyper aware of. But, and I said this on the pod, and I was like self-conscious about it, because I think what we're talking about is a lot of people do have shows that are like, here's my wound, but here's the funny thing. And a lot of people are really good at it, and it's awesome. But I was kind of complaining because I know a lot of people aren't, and I think it's selfish.
I was going to say, a lot of people are good at that. It's like, show me to them.
No, well, I'm like anxious from when I was like reading people for Bill. But it's like a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, no, I would say in general, it's such a tempting trap to fall into. To be like, let me experience my pain in front of you so that I can be seen, because that's all we all want to be. So, but that's not your job as a creator. You have to think about your audience first.
Go to therapy.
Period.
Go to therapy. And I think
and
you
for 20% off for BetterHelp.
BetterHelp. Oh my God, I wish.
Erica?
Please sponsor me.
Erica?
Yeah, Erica, can we get that on the horn? But I do think like to anyone making something who's like, but aren't you supposed to work your issues out through your art or understand yourself better? There is a difference between understanding yourself better and creating something and kind of being angry, like making an audience tell you what you're trying to say. If you know what you're trying to say, then you'll do a good job. If you don't know what you're trying to say and you just want people to tell you you're enough, so then you go and say your worst pain in a way that isn't thought out, well, then that's the difference.
Did you know what you wanted to say when you started writing the show? You did?
Completely.
See, because me, no. I did not.
Me, no. So you said you have more emotional parts. Is that about your personal experience or identity?
Well, it's funny. It came really late. Like the ending of the show is essentially, the show is like a whole meditation on like what it means to be gay in the in today's day and age with the backdrop of AI and social media and this world where we're like constantly trying to monetize our lives and commodify our the things that make us interesting. You know, it's like, I'm gay, like like me for that, you know, or like, I don't know, I'm tall, yeah.
My bank account
like,
is,
you know, whatever it is, we'll use it.
Oh, I use that.
But that's the culture that we're in. It's like we're really trying to commodify ourselves, and in the end, what really the search is in this sentience for this robot is, what does it actually mean to be gay? Because it's very simple. But yet there is no there's no bloodline, there's no language, there's no country of origin, there's nothing you can return to say like, now I am gay. Like, it exists in this sort of like cloud above us all. And right now, what it means to be gay is to be in tune with pop culture and to be in tune, like the language that we speak are these like memes and this like, but is that what it means? And then in the very end, my director, I think it was like honestly July before we went to Edinburgh, so it was July last year, that he was finally like, I think we just have to hear from you, like what you think it means to be gay, and it has to be like something that comes from Steven, and we drop the character and we, you know, and it's this story, this very tragic and beautiful story about my first kiss with a guy. That's how it ends. Yeah, we drop the whole veil of the robot thing, and it's just a very human understanding of what it means to be gay.
Well, one thing that you said that just really resonates and is beautiful is like there's nowhere to return to. And I think a lot of the AI and the technology symbolize a separation, a lack of intimacy, and a lack of presence.
Totally.
And when there's nothing to return to, that just means you just are present. And like, for you to then do that, I think is so exemplary of what you're trying to say. And that is why those ends hit when someone actually does the thing they talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I hope. That's the constant goal. It's a lofty goal to be like, let me define what it means to be gay. So it's like no one could do that. It's because there is no place to return to. Everyone has their own relationship with it. You know, to some people it doesn't mean anything. It's like, I'm gay, but I'm still, you know, it's like a side factor. To other people it's everything. To other people it's literally what makes them money. Like, it's how we all interpret these things that I think create the stereotypes that I'm then trying to just like expose, you know?
Well, and in their exposure, dispel, right? Because you then get the permission to know that you don't have to be a type of way to be gay.
Right. Or that the bitchy gay might like have a deeper life, or that the whole point is that all of these robots, all of these stereotypes, like all spawn from the same sort of experience that no one can really put a finger on, you know, of like just trying to navigate a heteronormative world as a gay person. And I hope that that's not the case for Gen Z and below. Like, I think it is kind of like we might be the last generation of, I mean, I'm sure it exists in other ways, but where it was, quote, okay to be gay, but I didn't want to see it. You know, it's like, you can totally be gay. You don't have to tell people. You know, and it's like, it's this weird sort of like shame layer on top of queerness.
Well, it was horrible because you were verbally being told yes, but every feeling of it was no.
But you still had to navigate into a heteronormative like function. You had to like be worthy of existing as a queer person.
Yeah.
We weren't dying as often. We weren't tortured or killed, so that's great. But there was still something, there was still like residue of that. And now I'm wondering, I hope that the next generation it doesn't seem like on social media they are feeling the same sort of like confines that we maybe have. But
I mean, there's always a new battle to have, but I think when you acknowledge things and validate things, it's with any marginalized group, right? It's like progress is not linear. In the liberation, right, then maybe sometimes more nefarious means of over labeling and over identifying make people feel stifled. And like but it is the constant, I think progress is what they call is like a 3D spiral, where it's like you're going to keep hitting the same things, but at a deeper level every single time. And I think so long as you are going deeper, then you are moving forward, even if it feels like you're
that's what progress
hitting
is.
the same things. Yeah.
Wait, who said that? Did you just say that right now?
Unfortunately, yes.
That's beautiful.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's so humiliating to say like wise things because I'm like, no, I'm not obsessed with myself. I swear.
Wait, but also, like I'm cute and funny and hot and chill.
I know. It's like I should only have one thing. This is fucked up.
No brain up here. No brain. I don't need it.
Oh my god,
no.
get out of here! I just want to fuck people and not think that hard.
Just a little fuck toy. I don't need my little brain for that.
Oh my god, I don't need to be a stoic. I don't need to be a philosopher.
I don't know what this voice is now.
Stoic. Gosh.
Okay, so we have a final segment, I want to say. So,
sure.
First of all, I would just like to say, one, I also think the audience should hear that while you're saying you're attempting to do something, I do think it should be said you are quite successfully, because not only is this show getting well reviewed, getting sold out, and I think that's many accolades, but it's meaning something to people, and you can see it has an effect on people. So I think you are successfully doing what you're attempting to do, and that is incredible.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yes. So our end segment is called Thank You for Holding My Poems. And it's my favorite segment because people are kind of like, oh, I love the idea, but wait, what? And and so the idea, what? Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking like, hold my poems. It's like, hold my bag. I got to do business now.
I'm obsessed with it not being meaningful and being more like my earrings, like hold me back, hold my
poems.
Exactly. Let's fucking go.
Poem. I love that.
Well, it is based off a Russian poet who I adore, who her poems were revolutionary and they were illegal to be printed under the Great Terror. Her name is Anna Akhmatova. She's Russian. And so as a means to continue her art and still make it, and she couldn't write it safely, all of her friends memorized edits of her poem that was speaking to the revolution. And they held them for over 30 years until she was able to publish. And I think that story will make me cry all the time because so many levels of it takes me out, of like the need to create, of the vulnerability it takes to ask someone to hold a not quite finished version of something and hold it for a long time, and then asking more people. And I think that takes such courage and beauty, but I also love to do that for my friends. And I think if you would like to share a poem, either that you want to be held or a circumstance in which you were held. And for me in my show, I think a single moment can change your life, with like someone saying hi to you when you were just about to have the worst life ever. Yeah. And I think that presence can change your life. So to me, those are more the poems of like a barista being like, incredible shirt. Yeah. And so if you want to talk about a moment that means a lot to you in your life that might seem quiet, we will hold that for you. Or if you want to give us an edit or something. That's what I'm saying. People love this idea, but it's kind of like,
I love it. No, I think I get it. I had one in mind, and then as you were talking, something else came to mind.
You can do both.
Okay, so because I was listening to the pod earlier, and I know you had, to be so honest, like you had Kat Cohen on, and she is such a inspiration for me. And I was thinking, I have her book, God, I Feel Modern Tonight, and it like, I love it. And she was like one of the first people who was exposed to me, where I was like, oh, if people are liking you, people might like me. I think like that. I see the world like that. I have the same like aspirations and the same insecurities and the same. I was like, oh shit, she's a bit of me, babes. You know.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
So shout out to her. I know. Why do I feel like crying?
I do. I literally do.
Why?
We both are like, we're both like actors. Like,
oh my god, use it. Erica, zoom in on.
Erica, zoom.
But yeah, her little book of poems was what I wanted to shout out. But also, so this kind of goes back to like talking about the like bitchy gay thing, and I have had these moments in my life, and I think we all have, but it really only comes with age when you can like look back and see that sometimes when people say things and they might sting or like might hurt a little bit, in retrospect, like really are very meaningful. Like I had this this it's not gonna sound meaningful, but you know what? Hold my poems.
Yeah, I'm holding it, babe.
So I did this show. I did Anastasia on tour, and I played the leading man. I played Dimitri, and I was supposed to love this. Like I was supposed to love being the lead. I was supposed to love.
I just got chills. The story you're already saying. I did.
I did not have a good time out there, and it took me a long time to sort of like accept that I didn't. I got broken up with in Madison. No.
Huge. Doing Anastasia in Madison, that's tough. Was it winter?
No, it was like maybe autumn. It was really pretty. Yeah, no, it was summer. Anyway, every single show it felt like I was reaching for something that like literally no one cared whether or not I was going to achieve, because they just wanted me to like act like a hot straight guy and sing a big note and watch Anastasia, like watch Anya wear pretty clothes. Like it was not high art, and I was trying to make it something that it wasn't in my head. And I had done a workshop of Snoopy the musical in college, and I played Snoopy, and it was like at the same time I was doing like another very heavy show, but I was playing a dog, like a song and dance man dog, and
okay, you're booking.
Whatever. No, that was just
I'm
college.
teasing.
Should I mention Kathy Najimy again? No, but I did it like near where I went to school. Like I did Anastasia, and I remember like coming out to the stage door and like talking to people very briefly, and one of my friend's dads walked up to me, and literally all he said, he walked up and he goes, "Liked you better as a dog," and walked away.
My hair just got blown back. Sorry. Free blowout.
Oh, I was, by the way, furious. I was like, so, like, not furious, but I was just like, are you kidding me? What a rude thing to say. Whatever. Cut to, like, realizing that, like, being the dog was so much more my bag. Doing Snoopy, he meant it as a compliment.
Being more yourself.
Oh my God, yeah. I was, like, using all my talents and goofing around and, like, being a showman and embracing parts of myself
and making
that like
people laugh.
Yeah, and making people laugh as opposed to like playing this like romantic lead and this like thing. I don't know. I'm not tailored to that kind of thing, and it's just in looking back on that kind of thing, it's clearly a long story to explain, but that is my that is like one of those I sometimes think when people say things like that and that feel very offensive, it's like they're only offensive because it maybe points to something that's true and nice and beautiful that you could maybe embrace.
I love that you took that from that, because, listen, he might have meant it a million ways.
He could have meant it. Yeah, exactly. Maybe he wasn't being nice, but there was.
But who cares? Benefit of the doubt. But I think when you can use that moment when you're activated or defensive and that person and thank them for being a vehicle for your own introspection.
Oh,
that is beautiful.
Yeah, that
God.
that just came to mind when you were like talking about Russia. I was like, oh yeah, remember that jackass? He could have been bad, but there was benevolence in there somewhere that made me go, oh yeah, this is what I want to be doing.
And you were close enough to hear it. Like I adore that. Because that's what I mean. A single moment where it's like, that stuck with you because that meant something. And that's the epitome of a poem to me, and everybody can have a poem, but that's very similar to the poem in my play. And it's also exciting to me because, we've heard it before in like pop culture of like, I had $1 million and a car and a babe and I wasn't happy. But I don't know it actually in a queer way, in a way for me. Mm-hmm. So to hear people like you say like, hey, I should have been happy, but I wasn't, it is permission for people to go, oh, okay. Oh, okay. I don't have to want what other people think I should want.
I knew it deep down too before I even hit the road. I was like, I'm not gonna like this. It was like trusting myself. I mean, I'm glad that I did it, but it was like it's hard to trust yourself.
That's how you learn to.
Exactly.
That experience.
I liked
exactly
you
how
better
you
as a
meant it.
dog. So the fuck did I?
Okay, it's giving title of book.
I liked you better as a dog.
Oh, Steven, you are my new friend. I'm so happy.
Wait, let's hang out.
I really mean that. Yeah.
Full
100%.
disclosure, we've never spoken in our lives ever, but now we've done it for
Isn't
an
that-
hour.
Okay, well, people are actually going to feel sick. Our chemistry was incredible. And we
Honestly,
actually
we're
just
bouncing off of each other. Periodic table in here.
bing, bang, bam, baby. Oh, wow. You just said some periodic table. I
What
said
are
some
the
boron.
what are the boron, fig neutron? What are the elements that are over to the right that are like special gases or something? Oh wait,
Noble gases.
Noble. Also a great title of book. Noble gases.
Noble gases. No,
maybe
that's
not.
someone who like is comfortable with bodily humor, and I
It's
am
giving
not.
fart. It's giving fart.
Okay, and on that note, Steven, okay, so everyone in LA, Steven has a show, I believe, at Dynasty Typewriter.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so this very thing that you have enjoyed, you get to actually physically see with your eyes. And that is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere else that they can find you?
Dynasty Typewriter. And then I'm going to San Diego on the 21st. And then I'm going to Seattle on the 25th, and then Chicago on the 26th, and then Toronto October 2nd through the 5th, and then New York November 11th. So if you're in any of those places, you can follow me on Instagram at Stephen Brower. It's Stephen with a PH, Brower like eyebrow. I'm going to fill your feed up with Palatable Gay Robot, so please come see it. Come support live theater.
Support life. I'm also already workshopping how you say your name, like browser. Like, how do we do computer stuff there? I'm like,
People do browser. People call me browser. I'm like, no, babe, it's phonetic.
because they see robot next to it though, and their brains fill it in.
Could be that. Okay, browser.
Okay, bad dog. I don't know.
Bad dog productions.
And it's actually the time in which the afternoon hits, where the slump of the dopamine's gone from my brain.
Sure, totally. I'm way past that. It's 8 where I am. I'm about to eat some pizza and watch the presidential debate. Wish us luck.
Party rock is in the house tonight. All right, Steven. Well, okay. Technically, I actually have to differentiate. We're going to sign the podcast off now, but we can still speak after.
Love you guys.
Love
Thanks
you guys.
for hearing.
Bye.
Bye.
Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is hosted by me, Mo Fry Pasick. You can learn more about this week's guest and the Worse Than You team by checking out the show and episode copy. It's on your phone, the thing you are touching so often. Sanitize it, my God. For more on our journey to the fringe, head to worsethanYouPlay.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram. I know you're scrolling constantly, and, well, it's the least you could do. Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is produced by Disco Nap and Kinahora Productions. Oh my God, you're so pretty.